Hello and welcome. This is Mike Stodola with Technology Marketing Toolkit. And today you are going to discover how one MSP scheduled 47 first-time appointments in just 90 days using untrained, unskilled 18-year-olds and how you can get this up and running in your business in the next 30 days. Before we get started, I do want to remind you that this is totally live and we will have Q&A. There is a chat box as well as a question and answer box. If you've got a question, if you actually throw it in that Q&A box, it's just easier for me to kind of check. If you just want to chat and let us know where you're watching from, if you haven't put that in already, and then do you currently have or have you in the past had an SDR or a call program going? So you can throw those into chat, but questions that come up throughout, do please throw those in the Q&A portion of here. So right now, I'm going to bring on MC Tracy. MC, before she came to us, she worked for years at an MSP where she took one of their marketing programs and grew it by more than 800%. And in a single 90-day period, generated 47 first-time appointments using, as you guessed it, untrained, unskilled 18-year-olds. And she's going to show you on here how to get this up and running in the next 30 days. So MC, how you doing?
Hello, hello. I am doing so well. I'm so happy to be here. So excited to dive right in. This is a topic I love to be able to talk about. And so I can't wait to just share all that I know today on this call.
Okay, awesome. So again, guys, as you have questions, go ahead, throw that in the question box. If you're just answering those earlier things, you can throw them in the chat. We will have questions and answers throughout and at the end of this. So just do that and we will make sure to get all your questions answered. With that, MC, I'm going to go off camera and leave it to you.
All right. Okay, guys. So like Mike said, we're going to be just talking through how we scheduled 47 first-time appointments in 90 days using 18-year-olds. You guys, this is just a really cool opportunity that a lot of MSPs have, and they're not utilizing it yet. So hopefully you guys can get a lot of good information today so that you can kind of move forward and look into this for your own MSP. So what you'll get today is we're going to go through the exact processes that we use to get 47 booked appointments in 90 days. You'll also get 6 hacks that I used to scale marketing quickly so that you can kind of replicate some of these things. And then 3 is a giant shortcut to get this started as soon as possible. So I know that Mike asked before for you guys to kind of put in the chat or the Q&A if you are currently looking to hire or you've hired in the past an appointment setter or somebody that makes follow-up calls. Would just love to hear that feedback and see where we're at today. But I'm going to start us off by kind of diving into a story. So I'm going to just kind of share a little bit of my story, how I got to be a marketing manager at an MSP. And it really has to pertain a lot to what we're going to talk about today. So this is a photo of me as a sophomore in college, and I had just won first place in the Geico elevator pitch competition. So at our college, there was a competition for business students, and there were some other students as well in it to do a 60-second elevator pitch. You had to go through multiple different rounds, and in the final rounds, you had people from Geico that were your judges, and they would allot people, first place, second place, third place. So I actually ended up winning this competition, but the reason I'm telling you about this today is because I ran into this guy who was one of my judges in the initial rounds at the college. So this is Tom Glover. Some of you may know him, but some of you may not. So Tom is pretty well known in our TMT community. He has been a Better Your Best finalist at our huge bootcamp event, which is coming up next week, you guys. We're so excited. But he was a Better Your Best finalist to win a car 2 years in a row. And he is the owner of an $8 million plus MSP. They've got locations all over the Southeast. But when I first met Tom about 3 years ago, I was a sophomore in college, and he was my judge at that competition. And he sent me a message on LinkedIn. He friend requested me and sent me a message and said, "Hey, I was one of your judges. Really enjoyed, your session. Would you have any interest in maybe talking with me more about becoming a marketing intern at our company. So I wasn't really even in the headspace of looking for a job or an internship at all. I was just a sophomore, had just kind of like gotten my feet on the ground after my freshman year. But I went in for an interview and it sounded pretty good. There were a lot of different materials that I could use because he was a client with Robin Robbins. And so I was able to kind of look at some of those materials and everything. And then that's kind of like it went from there. As I was an intern, I started to kind of gain some more responsibility, started to put some extra things on my plate, take up more hours, became a marketing coordinator. And then I was a marketing manager full-time after I graduated with him at TMT. So I was a marketing manager for them for about a year and a half. And during that time, I kind of started to train and hire interns to help us with our marketing department, which I'm going to jump right into. But a little bit more about me is now I'm currently a marketing manager at TMT. I also won Marketing Manager of the Year and a Golden Cone on this very topic, which you can see in that bottom left, a picture of me and Robin with the Golden Cone. But let's just kind of go ahead and dive right in to how we came about using these 18-year-olds and these interns to scale our marketing department. All right, so back to the story. I signed on full-time as a marketing manager with Tom. And the first order of business was that my goal was to increase our mailers from 50 mailers a week to 400 mailers a week. So we would send out direct mail and we would make follow-up calls on the direct mail. We'd send the follow-up emails. We'd do LinkedIn connections, all of these things that are typical for a direct mail campaign in the Robin Robbins and TMT community. And so this is my face. I knew I could never do that on my own. Basically impossible by myself to go from 50 to 400, but it was our goal. It's what we wanted to do to be able to hit numbers. And we wanted to, stick to it and get to it. So Tom and I talked and we decided that we definitely needed to hire some extra help. And the first thing that we needed to hire was the person to make the follow-up calls. When you're sending out a direct mail campaign, the person who makes the follow-up calls, or just even the follow-up calls in general, is the most important part of that entire marketing process. You're sending the mailer so that you can get in contact with somebody and follow up and then try and talk to a decision maker to have a conversation and open an opportunity. So we went to ZipRecruiter, Indeed, all of those online recruiting platforms and posted up a job description for an appointment setter. And we wanted somebody full-time and we wanted them to be in the office. And we had it out there and we had some candidates roll in, but you guys, they just weren't very qualified. And it just ended up being candidate after candidate. And we really didn't have much success, especially because we wanted to keep it local. We were in a smaller town, which I know that some of you are in a smaller town. And it was just very hard to find talent that would be willing to come into the office and that also had some experience like what we were looking for. But lo and behold, we found somebody and we hired them and it was great. And we were so ready and they quit after the first week. So this person that we hired, we got them on, we gave them all of our materials that we wanted to use. We showed them the direct mailers, the scripts that we had, the process that we really wanted to stick to, and they weren't having it. They were extremely experienced. They had even done follow-up calls in the tech space, but they didn't want to stick to what we were doing. And we weren't going to budge on that. That was something that was a tried and true method where we would get 1% to 2% return rate. We based all of our numbers off of these mailers, off of these scripts, and knowing that they would work. And he wasn't willing to do it. And so he quit after the first week. So all of that time that we had spent, I mean, we're really into Q1 after this kind of trudging through and trying to find somebody to hire, and he quit. But luckily, somebody else had just applied. They were qualified. Great timing. This is awesome. And they didn't show up the first day. hired them and they didn't show up. But you guys, hey, there's always light at the end of the tunnel. We found somebody else. They were out in Texas and we'd never had an employee in Texas. We really wanted them to be in the office, but we were getting to the point where we really needed to just find somebody to make these follow-up calls because we'd wasted so much time already. We did all the paperwork. They seemed great. We had all of this onboarding already done and they didn't show up the first day. And not only that, guys, they stole our laptop. So we were at this point, and I was at this point where enough is enough. So I don't know if that rings true to any of you. If it does, I want you to drop it into the chat. Maybe they didn't steal your laptop, but maybe you've been trying to hire somebody and find somebody and nothing is really working. So I just want to hear from you if I was completely alone in this, which I don't think I am, especially for this position, and just let me know. All right, how's it going out there in the chat and the Q&A? All good.
Okay, MC, we got Mark said they hid in the bathroom and wouldn't make calls.
Okay.
So that could almost be worse. I'd rather they just kind of disappear. Yes, my intern does not want to do probably the calls. Kristen's raising her hand. Hired a person. They lasted 2 days. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, definitely. Glad we're all we were in the same boat because it was tough. It was a lot of time, a lot of extra time on top of this job that you're already doing to try and recruit. And then for it to just kind of, drop off was no fun. But then we had an idea. So this all started because Tom was connected with the college and the college was nearby in our town. He was, I think, even on the board in the technology department. And so he was super connected. And he had actually an intern program for the technicians. He would hire tech interns over the summer and he would have them help with help desk. Really, they'd just be live answering the phone calls and then pass it off to a tier 1 or tier 2 tech. So he had this whole program built out for the summer. And we thought to ourselves, what if we did this kind of program, but for the marketing department, and we hired interns to be able to make these follow-up calls? Maybe that would work. So we drafted up a job description and we went to the college, and you guys, it worked. This worked really well. This is how we booked 47 first-time appointments in 90 days, how we scaled up our marketing by 700%, and how we gained 797 new leads in just 3 months. So before I get into how we did it, I'm just going to tell you why interns, because I know that some of you, this is kind of a new concept, something you haven't really thought about before and want to dive into. And I'm going to tell you the 3 things that you could do that are not hiring interns. So the first thing you could do is hire that full-time salesperson. The problem with full-time salespeople, like I've seen or said before, is that they need to be constantly motivated. They have bad habits. They feel that they know better. A lot of them also have high turnover or don't show up. And it's just, you can kind of have some of those issues there, especially when you're trying to stick to a script or something that has worked in the past. Second thing you could do is do it yourself. But right now you're probably pretty busy. If I know MSP business owners or even marketing managers of MSPs, that it is really like herding cats. You're doing so many different roles and you just don't have time to be doing things like making follow-up calls or, even prepping mailers, putting paper, folding it, all of the things that are required when you're sending out direct mail. Or you could do nothing. But I don't think you'd be here today if you were looking to do nothing. Obviously, if you're here, you're looking to grow and grow by 47 first-time appointments in 90 days. So let me tell you the truth about interns. So interns are top talent who really want to work. So when you think of an intern, you might think of somebody who's, or even a college student, you might think of somebody who's, day drinking or lazy or sleeping all the time. And that's there. And there's college students that do that. but there's a lot of college students that are there to study and to learn and to gain experience. And the value of a degree has kind of shifted. And so when you graduate, if you don't have experience already under your belt, you may not be able to have the same kind of job opportunities that you would want. And so there's a ton of college students right now looking for internships that give them that real world experience in the career that they're looking for. So any kind of business college student would be very interested in having a position like this. And you can grab somebody who's going to take off and do so many great things, and you're grabbing them early, and you're able to kind of mold them into how you want them to be. So like I said, they follow processes and instructions, and they don't have bad habits yet. They don't know better. You're able to show them exactly how you want them to work and what you want them to do. And there's not much backlash. They just want to be able to succeed, and they'll take your advice, take your leadership, and they'll run with it. It gives you some better results than other options. So if you were to outsource maybe, or do a call center or anything like that, you might have some difficulty with making sure that the calls are the quality that you want. And also if you're able to have them in-house, you can just kind of manage them a little better. It's a lower cost and commitment. So it's obviously you're not paying full-time, you're not paying a salary or benefits or anything like that. You just kind of can pay them hourly, and they sit down and do the work about 10 to 20 hours a week. 15 is kind of that sweet spot for them to work with you. And there's always this huge opportunity for them to stay on through the school year or become an employee. So you can hire them for the summer. And if they have a great time with you, they learn a lot, they know they're getting paid for a job that they're getting experience for, why wouldn't they want to stay with you? And then finally, they may have other skill sets and take on other roles. So I'm going to really talk about the appointment setter and caller role today, but I've had interns that have done graphic design for us, have done blogs for us, and those kind of things as well, which has been really helpful. And then finally, why am I talking about this now and why today? So you guys, the students that are applying right now for internships are looking at the summer internships now. So May is when their semester is going to end. And so you're going to want to get up a job posting as soon as possible if this is something that you're looking for. So that's why it's so pertinent that you are on and can get some of this done today. Secondly, there's been some big tech layoffs, and the interns are first to go. So I've read a couple of articles that have just talked about how interns had their tech internships lined up, Microsoft, Google, all of these big companies, and they never got that summer internship that they had planned on. And so you can go in and grab these interns, and they're top talent. They're going to come in and be able to work and do what you want them to do as well. And then finally, it can be kind of hard to hire right now. I know we heard some comments from some others, but I've heard a lot from other MSPs about how it's kind of difficult to find some talent right now. So that's why we're going to talk about this today. Some of you may still be on the fence, so I just want to share with you guys that I have just kind of two success stories here. So Jason's a marketing manager. He's actually in our marketing manager coaching club. We meet weekly, and he was able to hire an intern and just kind of take off. His business was growing. He needed the extra hands and needed the help. And he's had a great experience with hiring interns. Same thing with Afton. They're growing and really needed to kind of scale their marketing. And she heard about this intern thing, and she has found so much success with it as well. So I'm going to take a quick sip of water, and then we'll jump right into it. Anything I need to know, Mike?
No, we're doing great. I've got some questions down here. So Coleman, Pamela, Jason, I've got your questions, and we'll go into that during the Q&A. A couple of them she'll probably answer on here. But if you do have questions, yeah, throw those into the Q&A section, and we're not going to get off until all your questions are answered.
Yep, absolutely. All right, so let's dive right in. So here's what we did. So these may be familiar to you. These images here are two direct mail pieces from both the aspirin campaign and the Band-Aid campaign. So these were direct mailers that we sent out. We started with the aspirin and then moved into Band-Aid as we started to just scale up. And what we did was we sent, instead of 50 mailers a week, we sent 400 mailers a week. We saw the same percentage increase from the mailers that we sent to the appointments that booked. So where we were booking appointments like 1 to 2 every 2 weeks, we were starting to book 4 to 6 first-time appointments every week. So it's really just sticking to that system and that process, but scaling it so much that you get a lot of activity in a little amount of time. So it's really just all of the things that you already have. It's just taking all of those, ideas and processes and actually implementing them at a timely manner. So I know that a lot of times when you send out direct mail, you could get so busy that you can't make the follow-up calls and you end up only making one or not making them at all. And that's really not sticking to the process. And you end up kind of losing your money on sending mailers and never, following up on them. You have to kind of follow through the whole process to have those first-time appointments booked and to get those opportunities opened. And so this was a way that we could stick to the process and also see great results in a small amount of time. So when we were doing this, we had four summer interns that were able to do all of this as well. And so I'm going to just kind of talk about that today. I'm going to go into 3 different things to talk about. So first, we're going to dive into how you recruit interns. Second, we're going to dive into how to hire interns. And then finally, we'll talk about how to train interns. There's a lot of step-by-steps that we can't go through today. So I'm just going to give you a high level. But this is the 3 biggest things that you'll need to know kind of at each stage so that you can have an intern that really performs and is able to implement. All right, so first step obviously is recruiting and how do you get these interns? Well, first I want to kind of talk about the job itself. So I know a lot of people have put job descriptions out for appointment setters, like the term appointment setters or the term callers. And the first thing that we did when we kind of went out to interns is we changed that to sales development representative or an SDR. So an SDR is that entry-level sales position that they're going to see across the board wherever they're kind of applying for internships. That's what this job is. So you'll want to make sure that you title it sales development rep. The number one and first thing that you need to recruit for is somebody to make calls. You need to have somebody that's not hiding in the bathroom instead of making calls. You need somebody that's not going to quit after the first 2 days. So you need to make it blatant and obvious that this is going to be a job where they make calls. Now, with that being said, we had so much success when we started to implement some other things than just having somebody sit down and make phone calls the entire day. That can be a very hard kind of job to have to do. And so we wanted to make it a little more fun, a little more diverse than just having them sit like just making phone calls every day like a robot. So what we did was we included some other job tasks that really needed to get done and especially needed to get done after they're making all these calls, like list building. So with list building, we found that since we increased our mailers from 50 to 400 every week, we started running through our list so fast. And so it was something that I didn't really foresee, but it was something that we were able to kind of implement with the extra hands that we had. So with list building, I kind of figured out that we needed about 80 to 100 new contacts every week. And so I just set a goal or a task for the interns to build or find 20 new contacts each week. So I showed them how to do Google scraping, how to find, people in our niche near me and to just kind of go that route, or even giving them lists to clean as well. And starting to build our list from there. So it didn't matter however they wanted to do it. If they wanted to make 5 new contacts in one day, 3 in another, 6 in one day, it didn't matter. They just had the goal for each week that they had to get 20 so that we could keep on pace with our direct mailers. So second thing we did was list cleaning. So same deal. When you're making a lot of follow-up calls, you're putting a lot of people into your scrub list. You're finding that you have bad numbers, that somebody's left the company, that you don't have an email, all of those things. And so we also tasked them, same thing. They had a goal for each week where they would have to make this many clean contacts based on how many we had starting to pool. Then also their favorite one was prepping mailers. So prepping mailers is one of those tasks that you probably don't need to be doing as a business owner and that your marketing manager could do, but they could also spend a little more time with other things like your website or making great free reports or making great blog posts instead of spending all that time with prepping mailers because it just takes a long time. And the great thing for us was that the interns loved it. So they would all kind of schedule their day and they would all take the prep mailers time block at the same time so they could have an assembly line. And they had one person that was folding and one person that was putting the aspirin or Band-Aid on, one person that was stuffing the mailer, and then one person stamping. And so they just had a great kind of like break in their day where they could communicate and talk, but still get a ton of work done. So that was just kind of great for the morale and the happiness with the job. And then finally, another one of those, this is another one of those like monotonous tasks that you need to do over and over, is just making those LinkedIn connections when you're sending out direct mail. This can be automated, I think, but for any of you who don't have the automation, it's copying the same message and pasting it and changing the name and copying and pasting and changing the name. And so we just had our interns do it instead. We would have them kind of sign in under our business owner's account and just copy and paste and send and say, thanks for, connecting with me today and those kind of things to make sure that we made those connections as well. So I would really recommend that you structure your job around not just making calls, but also some other things where they can get some good marketing experience instead of just the phone calls experience. So if you need somebody to make your social post or to just even like post it up, anything like that is going to be really great for them to kind of take that mental break and get off the phones and be able to do something else for a little bit. Okay, so we're still under the recruiting point today. So I'm going to give you one of my biggest secrets under recruiting, and that is this platform called Handshake. So you'll definitely want to post your job on Indeed, LinkedIn, all of those different places, but a great tool for you to use is joinhandshake.com. The reason I love this tool is because it is only college students on this platform. And so you can get connected to colleges nearby, and you can get connected to students that are exactly like what you're looking for. So it'll give you their profile with their major and their minor. And if they've built it out at all, then they can also put in, leadership opportunities they've had at the school and anything like that. And it'll actually pair your job description up with interns that match what you're looking for. So this is just a great tool and recruiting piece where you can get into their inbox and send them a message. Instead of waiting for them to come to you, you can kind of go to them and recruit from there. So this is a big disclaimer for Handshake is that you have to build your credibility on the platform. So if you haven't been involved in a college yet, I would just recommend you get on a job fair list or something like that and go to a job fair. It's a great place to recruit interns. We did job fairs as well at the school. So get in a job fair and that will boost your credibility and your online score for Handshake. Second thing is if you're headquartered out of your home, it will not allow you to make an account, or if you can make an account, it won't give you credibility. Just because your home address isn't really credible for them to give students the opportunity to work with a company if it's a home address. So that's just two different things. A great way to go about that, if you don't have credibility or you're building your credibility on Handshake, it's a completely free platform, by the way. If you're still building your credibility, then I would get in contact with the Career Center, because the Career Center will take your job and your job listing and give it to professors in the marketing department, their sales professors, anything that like kind of fits the job that you're looking for. And those professors will announce it in class. So that's great around the board. So even if you're using Handshake, I would recommend doing that as well, because that's really just getting right in front of the interns, and finding somebody who is looking to, get a job. Okay. Next, I just want to highlight a couple of our top interns and just kind of describe to you how it went. So Elizabeth came in as an SDR, and then she was a mass communications major and really wanted to start kind of working on blogs or working on our social media posts. So that was something that she did. She came in and she did the calls, and then she kind of moved into incorporating more. So as they get more comfortable on the phones, they get done with their calls a lot quicker and they can take on more responsibility. So that was something that we did with her. Wesley and Juliana, they both came in as summer interns. Wesley was not able to do the next semester because he was on the basketball team. And so he just didn't have the time to be able to kind of move into the next one. But Juliana, she stayed on for a couple more semesters and maybe even the next summer as well. Maddie, I wanted to highlight her because she was a high schooler. She did our list cleaning and our list building as a high schooler, and she did get some experience on the phones as well. And then finally, I wanted to highlight Vanessa because she came in as an intern for doing blogs and social media posts, and she managed really well. She managed her time really well. She helped us organize in our office and all of that. And we offered her a full-time position, and she came on full-time as a marketing coordinator. So I was a marketing manager, she was a marketing coordinator, and then there was a whole army of interns as well, kind of cranking out our marketing. And then the last thing I want to highlight about them is Wesley, because he had this great idea. So Wesley was on the phones, and he'd had many of phone calls where somebody didn't get the letter, or it just kind of the conversation fizzled out. And so he asked me one day, he said, "Hey, MC, can we ask them a good email address to send a digital version of the letter to, so that we can then have their email address, we can like do follow-ups or whatever, and I can kind of talk to them through email." I was like, "Wesley, that's genius." So because of that change in our script, we were able to add 797 new leads in our system from them making phone calls and gaining those emails, getting them on drip newsletters, getting them in follow-up email sequences, and all of those things, which was awesome. All right, before going into step number 2, Mike, is there any question pertaining to Handshake or recruiting or anything like that?
We got a couple questions here, and we'll save a couple for the end. But Pamela was asking, how much did you pay interns?
Great question, Pamela. I'm glad you brought that up because I wanted to talk about that. So for interns, one, I want to mention that your internship will count as course credit for them. If they're a major in marketing or sales, it definitely most likely will count as course credit. If they are, like Wesley was an economics major, and so he had to get it specially signed off by the head of the econ department to get it as course credit. So all of our interns were able to use this as a class. And so that kind of helped with the scheduling as well. As long as they worked 15 hours, that was for my college. It might be different for a college you're looking for, but as long as they worked 15 hours a week, it counted as credit for them. We did also pay our interns. We paid them $10 an hour, and we paid them $25 for a SAT appointment. So that's not a booked appointment, but a SAT appointment to make sure that those appointments are qualified. And then we also paid them $100 in commission if the appointment that SAT ended up becoming a client. So at the time, the minimum wage in Georgia, which is where this all happened, was $7.25 or $7.50. And so paying $10 was a little bit over minimum wage. And then they also had that commission structure. And so if we had one intern that booked 4 appointments in like 2 days, and so she had an extra $100 on her check as a college student on top of her hourly pay, and they're very satisfied and very happy with that.
And then the $100, was that on top of the $2,500 if they became a client? Was that an additional?
It was an additional. Yep.
Okay, so if they book, the appointment sits and becomes a client, that's like a $125 bonus. That's probably as much as they were making in a week.
Exactly. And it was, for us, it motivated them. And it wasn't, when we're making, our MRR is so much more than just $100. It just made sense for us.
Yeah, of course. Let's do one more question, then I'll let you keep going. I've got several others written down, but a couple people have asked, hey, were these interns on site or remote? And like, would it work for remote?
Yeah, so great question. We did have a majority of our interns on site. We had a couple that were offsite. That was just the way we wanted it. And we were nearby to a college, like 10 minutes from a college, so that they were able to come into the office pretty easily. It helped me as a manager it made it easy on me as a manager to be able to manage them in person. It's more difficult as a manager to manage them virtually. They still did good work virtually. It's just, if you want them to be able to grow, you have to have more meetings, more face-to-face time. And you as a manager just kind of have to be a little more hands-on than hands-off when they're kind of in office. So as an SDR, that role, typically you want them to be in the office just because you can listen to phone calls. I would sit there and do my work and still be able to hear their phone calls and offer suggestions if they needed it. So that's number one. But if you need to hire and you can't find anybody nearby, or you don't have a college nearby, you can look at high schools as well. And then B, you'll just have to have a little more on you as a manager to be able to kind of assist them in learning and training, which we'll get into the training part of this as well. You just have to be a little more hands-on because they don't have all of that experience.
Okay, perfect. So I've got, let's see, I've got Ron, Sarah, Andrew, Mike. I've got your questions down, and probably some other Coleman. So we'll go into those later, but I'll let you keep rolling along, MC.
All right. Okay, so step 2. So you've hired, or you've recruited interns, and you've got a list of people to come in for an interview. So how do you know a great intern to hire at the interview stage? I'm going to give you 3 ways that you can find an intern that pays attention to detail and implements. So the interview process is a little different with interns because they don't have previous experience to really talk about. If I had asked them about previous experience, they'd talk to me normally about lifeguarding, about babysitting, about nannying. So those kind of things didn't really give me good insight to whether they'd be a great intern for us or not. But these are some kind of secrets that you can find a good candidate just because you know that they're going to be able to implement your things and that they're listening and learning. So first one is when you sit down and interview them, the first thing you'll want to ask is, hey, just before we get started, I want to know, or just let me know how much you know about my company so that I have a good place to start out with. So first thing you want to know is if they did research on the company. So the reason you want to find this out is because their professors, the Career Center, all of the, people above them that are teaching them will be telling them whenever you go into an interview, make sure that you do research on the company. It's just like that first initial step. And for the interns that are unprepared in this place, they'll probably be unprepared later on as well. This was something that was kind of one of my, they have to do this sort of things. It was a non-negotiable really. If somebody had not done research on the company, to me, it showed that the amount of care that they had in this internship opportunity at all. So next one is, did they have questions prepared? So this one's not as much as of a red flag to me, but it is an above and beyond kind of candidate. So if you at the end of the interview say, hey, do you have any questions for me? And they have some prepared, that just kind of shows you that they do preparation. They understand that in an interview, they'll need to come with something. And it's just a good indicator of how they'll be. And then finally is, did they send you a thank you email, or maybe it was a message in Indeed or on Handshake? Did they send you a thank you within a day or two? This is the same kind of principle where they're getting told to send thank you notes, to make sure to thank the person that interviewed you by all of the Career Center people. And if they're not doing that, then they're not going that extra mile. And you will have interns that do this, and those are the ones that you're really going to want to watch for. So instead of really watching and seeing for these last two, instead of watching and seeing like, oh, they didn't do this, they didn't do that, you're really just trying to find the intern that does do these extra things and go the extra mile. And then in an interview, you're going to want to just kind of hear their college experience, what they've done in their classes and those kind of things, and just kind of ask them about themselves and what they're enjoying, why they're even looking for a marketing internship to begin with. Okay, and then step number 3, training. So this one, there's a whole list of things that you need to do when you're training. I have even, onboarding documents, packets even, and must knows. We can't go into all of that today, but I am going to show you tell you 3 things that you have to do kind of on a regular basis to make sure your interns stay on track. This is going to be so beneficial to you as a manager. And it's a time commitment, but it's not even that much effort that's involved. So first thing is a daily huddle. So this was the number one thing that was so successful in our training for our interns. So we would have a morning huddle and an afternoon huddle. This is specific for the summer interns. So in our morning huddle, we would just talk about those goals that we had set for the week and what they were going to accomplish that day. We talk about the calls that are in the queue that need to get made, who's going to do call 1s, who's going to do call 2s, and who's going to do call 3s. We also would ask, how many list building contacts do you need to do? How many contacts do you need to clean? And then we'd also just kind of ask, if there was anything that they needed from us or anything like that. The feedback I got from the interns was that this was a great way for them to know that they were doing exactly what they needed to do. It was kind of like an agenda check almost. And so they knew that they could kind of put all their ducks in a row. And then not only that, but they could prioritize and kind of time block for themselves so that they had some flexibility in what they were doing at the job. So then in the afternoon huddle, we would do good call, bad call, and blockers. So during the good call, they would all share about a great call that they had. Maybe they booked an appointment, maybe they have an opportunity, maybe they sent a virtual shock and awe to somebody, but we would all talk about, a good call. It was good for me to have those contacts on my radar and good for them to kind of share in something that was very positive and that happened to them at work. Second thing was to have the bad call conversation. So I kind of led these at first and asked them about their bad calls and kind of provided feedback. But then as we went on, the interns all talked about the bad calls amongst themselves and offered feedback to all of the different interns as well. So they kind of started to take charge on the good calls and the bad calls to provide that feedback. And it was also a great opportunity for them to get a bad call off their chest. You have to remember, these are 18-year-olds. This is kind of their first step in the business world. And a bad call can be pretty bad sometimes. And so to just be able to get that off your chest and to talk through it is great for them as well. And then finally, any blockers. So is there anything that you need help with that you can't move forward with that I can work on before, you come back the next day? So we would just go through that as well. Next is to listen to calls each week and provide feedback. So although you do talk about a good call and a bad call in the huddle, this is actually sitting down and listening to recordings together with the intern one-on-one. So the way you'll want to do this is you sit down and you pull up the recording and you both listen to the recording at the same time. You write down feedback and they write down feedback. And then you have the intern provide feedback first, and they grade themselves. And then you come in and you give really good criticism, and you kind of like build them up, but also give them good feedback so that they can have a good call in the future. A lot of this is just talking about objections that they came in contact with and how maybe they could have navigated it better, or if they just hung up on a phone call, somebody didn't get the letter and they say, okay, bye. And you kind of have the conversation there of how you can move forward with that conversation. Okay. And then finally, talk about common objections and have a plan. So this was a game changer for us. We had a lot of different niche industries that we worked with, and each one had different objections that they came with. And so what we did was we all took a day where we sat down and wrote down every single objection we could think of from every single industry. And then we wrote out scripts on how to overcome those specific objections that they continue to come in contact with, so that they could have a plan of action before the conversation even happens. So this was huge for them in both the feeling of having a safety net when somebody would come with an objection, and to be able to just read the script. And so that was just really huge for them. So they had a whole stack of objections, and they could just like flip through whenever they were on the phone and be able to have a course of action on how to take that call. It also is good for you for quality control, and just knowing that when somebody makes an objection, they have a plan to be able to navigate that objection. Okay, you guys. So that is kind of the high level of what I have for you today. So today you learned why hiring interns can help you scale your marketing department fast, the best online tools to find and hire interns, how to list and structure the job to increase retention and keep your interns longer. When you want to start looking for interns, and the answer is right now, you guys, if you want to put this in place, you need to get your job description up, and you need to get it on Handshake, LinkedIn, Indeed right now, because this is the time that they're looking. You also learned the top 3 secrets that reveal an excellent intern, and the 3 ways you can keep your interns on track. All right. So I want everybody to go to technologymarketingtoolkit.com/intern, because today we have a very special thing to offer to you guys. So I have these 2 different programs called How to Hire an Intern and How to Train an Intern. So obviously I couldn't jump into absolutely everything that I learned and implemented as a marketing manager of a team of interns, but I have ways that you can go ahead and kind of take hold of that. So in the How to Hire an Intern, you will get a step-by-step walkthrough on how to create your Handshake profile, how to send messages, how to use it, the top 16, 17 interview questions that I ask an intern. You'll also get live Q&As, and all of those steps you need to take to hire. Then today, for the first time, I'm releasing how to train an intern. So really what this is going to include, you guys, is a lot of live and recorded sessions from me to train your intern once you hire them. So I'll be going through all of the things that these interns need to be trained on. So even things like what's educational direct response marketing, what is sending a direct mail piece, how do I even put a aspirin packet on a letter, how do I do TurboDial, how do I do Infusionsoft? You guys, I'm going to be doing all of that for you. And so I want you to go to technologymarketingtoolkit.com/intern. And then you're going to see kind of the description of all that you'll get. And then there's going to be 2 options for you here. So today only, I am doing both how to hire an intern and how to train an intern for $497. So you guys are getting about $100 discount, and this is going away at midnight tonight. But since you're on and you are my very special guests, you can get it today for $497. You're going to get so much good content, so much training material that you won't have to do yourself. And so this is really just kind of for you. If you want to implement this, this is your fast start. This is exactly how you do it and how you do it right. Okay.
Hey, MC, just a question that they're getting. So we have one person on who's got already has how to hire an intern.
Yep.
Do they have to get both, or how's this work?
No, so on that order form, you'll see how to train an intern, and you can just click that one. And if you've already purchased how to hire an intern, you have a discount code that has been emailed to your inbox. Can't give it away on here, but you do have a discount code for anyone who's purchased how to hire an intern first, because I love you guys, and we'll give you $100 off.
Awesome. So here's a question from Steven. We got a bunch of questions, and so make sure you put those in the Q&A. I've got it written down, but Steve is saying, will you be providing the process docs we would need for the interns? Do you want to go through some of that more, like, even if, I don't know if you have it on the page before this, but you talked quickly about you've got 10 live sessions, and just kind of go through that again, what the deliverables are.
Absolutely. So in how to hire an intern, what you'll get is you'll get 3 recorded sessions that go through all that you need to do to hire an intern. So this is everything from that recruiting and that interview stage, and how to get a really great intern from those initial stages. There's also a recorded Q&A, and we will be doing an updated live Q&A for you as well. So if you get that today, you will get new Q&As with me. So you'll get a step-by-step walkthrough on Handshake with screen share, the top recruiting messages that will get applications. So that's a huge one, you guys. When you are recruiting interns, this message has worked for me and so many other MSPs that are hiring interns. I mean, this is like the secret sauce. It's really like the thing that gets people to apply. You'll also get the elements of the exact student profile you should look for. So what if they're, an econ student, or what are you actually looking for on Handshake or any of these platforms? You'll also get 17 interview questions that really work every time to kind of uncover the type of person that you're really looking to hire. And then you'll get step-by-step onboarding process and training docs for them. Then you'll get that Q&A, and you'll get an updated Q&A where we'll jump on. You guys can come to me with any question that you have. I'll help you. I've helped, like I mentioned before, with Jason and some other people who are looking to hire interns. There's just a little tweaks here and there that we need to take, and then they've gotten to hire an intern for that. So that's with how to hire an intern. With how to train an intern, you guys are going to get, it's close to, I think it's 10 sessions that you'll get that, let's see. Yep, so you'll get trainings for your intern that covers what is direct response marketing and how to use Robin stuff, all of it, to get more appointments than ever before, how to use Infusionsoft and TurboDial. So that's just, one of those kind of technical things that they have to know, they have to learn. So I'm going to just kind of record a video for you guys to sit them in front of the computer and show them exactly how to use Infusionsoft and TurboDial. You'll also get how to send direct mail that wows. You'll get how to make phone calls and set appointments. So that's one that we'll really dive into. We'll listen to recorded calls. We'll talk about what makes a call good or bad, how to overcome those objections, like that plan I was telling you guys about before, how to go ahead and set up a plan for the objections that they'll get. And then move forward. Your intern can even jump on these sessions with me. So we're going to have a kickoff call for anyone who gets how to train an intern. We'll have a kickoff call in 2 weeks on a Wednesday. You'll get all of that information when you sign up. but we'll go ahead and have the kickoff call and then give you guys a little bit of time to hire an intern. And then you can just stick them on these sessions with me, and I'll go through and basically train them for you as best as I can. They'll also get access to how to build and clean lists and any of those other admin tasks that they could be doing for you. And then I'll also give you guys, as the business owners, as the marketing managers, you'll get a scorecard template to use for your intern. And then you'll also get this kind of like how to create an intern flywheel, or honestly, guys, any SDR, how to kind of create a flywheel for your SDRs so you can continue to grow, so that when people leave or rotate out, that you'll have new interns or SDRs that rotate in. So it's just all the secrets that work for me. I'm going to be kind of giving to you guys and sharing with you.
Okay, perfect. So just before going, want to recognize we got you down, Marco, Jeff, Tim, and Mark.
Awesome, you guys.
And yeah, there was a question that came in. If you already have how to hire an intern and you're just buying how to train an intern, you guys will get access to everything that's new for the hire an intern. If you've already got that, that'll all be updated. They can join the live sessions, etc., anything with that. So let's go to a couple of these questions that we have. So MSP Coleman asked, like, they've used some companies and some scripts that didn't work in the past. Where did you get the scripts that you gave to the interns to use to get all these appointments?
Yeah, great question. So we were a client with Robin Robbins and TMT. So they have this huge online dashboard full of resources. That's where we got the direct mail piece. That's where we also got the scripts, the follow-up emails, the entire sequence on how to send, direct mail and when to follow up and when to make the phone calls. All of that kind of comes packaged together into one single campaign that they offer on the dashboard. And so that's where we got the scripts. The scripts relate exactly to the direct mail that you send. And so we kind of went from there.
Okay. So they're really just using the dashboard scripts. And then said the 797 leads. Can you explain real briefly again how you got 797 leads?
Yeah. So when they were making the follow-up calls, they would have somebody on the phone that maybe a decision maker on the phone that didn't receive the mailer, or maybe have gotten the mailer, but they haven't gotten to read it. So what we would do is we would collect those email addresses. We'd be able to send the email address first, that a virtual document of the letter, so that they could have it in their inbox anytime they wanted to see it. Then we would also use that same email and have them as a lead to send all of our drip marketing to. So they'd get our e-newsletters, they'd get our drip tip emails, tech tip emails. They would also be on our list to send any promotional things. We'd send a follow-up 9-word email to them saying, hey, are you still interested in IT services? And so we were able to kind of open up opportunities by having these emails and these leads of people opting in to our stuff because they gave us their email address.
Okay, perfect. Let's see, got a question. I think I'm pronouncing this right. I've been watching a lot of Emily in Paris. My fiance, she loves that show. So I think it's Francois. And let me know if I'm not pronouncing it right, Francois. Not that I can do any better, but he's saying he would love to get a folder of files on how to train interns. Training has been a major struggle in having no time to sit down with them and do the proper training. I think you just kind of answered again what all you get, but that's where these videos are recorded and they'll have access. And this isn't for them really to train. This is to like show the interns. It's not teaching Francois how to train. It's teaching the interns exactly what to do, right?
Exactly. So yes, that is exactly right, Mike. So I've been in the same situation where it felt like I didn't have any time to train the interns. So I know that, and I know that feeling, and that you guys probably don't have the time to sit down and just train interns, especially as a business owner. So that's why we kind of made these sessions like this so that I can go ahead and train your intern for you. I've done it 15 times. And so you don't have to really do much of anything. I will be training them. If you have an intern currently, they can get on the sessions live with me. If you don't, then you'll get all of the recordings and they'll be able to just have access to that immediately. Yep.
Okay, and Tasha's asking, is the training available to Accelerators Club members? This is outside of membership, just to be clear. This is an additional training. It's available to everybody. There, you just use the link, and I've got it a couple times in chat, or it's on the screen, and you included a QR code also. Awesome. And then would this be available for future interns? They get lifetime access to this, don't they, MC?
Yep. Yep, you get lifetime access. So when you sign up today, you'll get lifetime access, or if you sign up, another time, but today's when you get all the great discounts. But yeah, you'll get lifetime access. You'll always be able to reference the recordings, always be able to give them to your intern whenever you can hire.
Okay, we had a question from Jason. He said, what fields of study did you find best to hire for this role?
Great question, Jason. I love that question. I don't even know if I've really had that question. So yeah, so we would first initially hire, kind of the sweet spot is a sales major. Now at the college that we recruited at, we didn't really have a sales major. We had a marketing major and sales minor. So that was something that we really recruited for, because it's specifically geared towards exactly what they're looking to grow in, and gives them that direct experience. So sales, because this is an entry-level sales position. And so they're gaining that experience to be able to kind of like leapfrog over some of the other people that they'll graduate with. Marketing is a great one as well, because they'll probably come with more tools in their tool belt than just being able to make phone calls. A lot of marketing people have digital design experience, have good like writing experience, have good strategy kind of mindset. So those are great ones to look for too. With that being said, we hired 3 or 4 mass communications majors. They were great for doing blog posts for us, and also were on the phone calls for us. So mass comm was a great one. And then honestly, we had an econ major. We had a science major. It kind of just depends. When an intern comes in and you interview them, you'll know when they're going to be dedicated and great for the job. But I would kind of, if you have like that first initial one, I would definitely look for a sales or marketing, or just business undecided, anything kind of in that realm.
Okay, and here's a great one that just came in, so I'm going to skip to it, but then we'll go back. How long does the training take? Since interns are usually temporary, how long does it take for them to get up and running?
Yeah, great point. So we would train our interns and have them on the phones in 7 days, within the week. So the training that we went through would take about 2 days. And then they would get on the phones, and on that 3rd day, it'd be a little rough. You have to just kind of like get through it and start to get on the phones. And then they were pumping out calls by the end of the week. So yes, that's a great point. Interns, if you're only looking to hire a summer intern, you don't have a lot of time to get them up and running. But with this, you'll get them up and running in 7 days.
So just to be clear,
yeah,
just to be clear, that 47 appointments you guys got in the 90 days was over a summer. So that was getting them trained and up and running fast.
Yes, they were all brand new interns that we'd never had before. We had 4 of them come in, and yeah, they all went through the training within those 3 days. They all got on the phones by that Friday. They were, booking appointments. And then, we had just hit the ground running at that point, gotten 797 new leads, 47 booked first time appointments, all within 3 months, really 2.5 months. So it really is like pretty quick.
Okay, awesome. And so when you said 30 days, like the name of the webinar, that's because you're also teaching people how to recruit and hire. So it's not saying that they're going to be hiring and calling within 7 days. The the hiring is that get someone in here in the next 30 days, or at least say they're going to be your summer intern.
Yep. I'm glad we clarified that.
Okay, perfect. Sounds good. So let's see. Ron had asked, he said, you're talking mostly college interns, right?
So I am talking mostly college interns today. We did have a high school intern. She did all that I talked about today, but she started out and did a lot of list cleaning and list building first. And then we kind of warmed her up to the phone calls.
Okay, awesome. And then Sarah was asking, how many like calls per day or per week did you have them doing?
Yeah, that's a good question, Sarah. And I don't have the specific number. I have it somewhere, but off the top of my head, I can't remember. But they would come in. So in the summer, they would work, the full day, and they would get through their phone calls within the first half of the day before lunch. And then when they worked over the semester and they would come in for maybe 5 hours or 3 hours. It really just depended how many calls that they got through. With any SDR, they're going to spend a little more time in that beginning, and then they're going to hit their groove and start to, roll through phone calls. So anywhere between 70 to 100 calls in a day.
Yeah, Sarah, good. Just whether it's an intern or an SDR, we typically say about 20 an hour is what you want to shoot for once they're up and running. As long as you have good systems and you have your turbo dial and things like that, if they got to pound the phone number in there manually, that's going to be a little bit slower and everything, but 20 an hour on average. So it really depends how many you're sending out and everything. And MC, I think one of the keys to your system, and I would highly recommend everyone kind of listen to this, whether you hire interns or full-time SDRs or whatever you decide to do, was what MC said about not having them making just calls all day long with that. It was also doing the list cleaning, building the list, doing the actual printing, stamping, stuffing envelopes. I mean, doing all the other activities so they didn't get burnt out on just doing the calls, because that can be tough. Even here, our full-time SDRs, I think we have 8 of them now. We want, and they are told that their full-time job is on the phone, but we have 100 calls a day, so that's 5 hours of call time a day, because we even know they need breaks on this, or they'll get burnt out and leave. MC, other questions we have. So Andrew was saying, did you have them canvas at all? He said, what if you do calls a couple days a week and canvassing other days, or did you do anything like that?
So no canvassing for the interns. Whenever we needed them to build lists, we would have them do it completely online. So we had a tool, LinkedIn Sales Navigator. They would be able to put in one of our locations. They could whittle it down to CEOs or business owners in a certain industry. So they would use LinkedIn Sales Navigator, or we would have them just kind of Google scrape, which is when you can say accountants near me, and it'll show up. So we had them, type in different zip codes or areas so that they could build a list there. But no canvassing. We'd have them on the phones was the priority. Once they got through the amount of calls that they needed to that day, then they'd go into that list building. And so they do it all digitally.
Okay, and Ron is saying, if we have no interns, how can we sign up for the How to Train an Intern?
Yeah, so you can go ahead and sign up for How to Train an Intern. If you don't have one, though, you may want to also sign up for How to Hire an Intern, because that's going to give you the step-by-step resources that you'll need to be able to hire an intern as quickly as you can. So that is available to you, but you can also just purchase How to Train an Intern separately. I would recommend, though, getting the How to Hire as well.
Yeah. So you'd recommend them buy more. Is that right, MC?
Well,
she is a marketing person, guys. So yeah, this is why Tom Glover grew his company under MC. She's not cool.
130%.
Yes. Yeah, buy 2 copies. Get it done in half the time.
So the reason I say that, though, is because there's recorded sessions there that I won't be doing again, because it's all sessions on how you get your handshake set up and all of those kind of things.
Okay, perfect. And now here's a good question Gary put in. He said, were your interns confident when talking to a CEO? So you're asking college students to be making these calls, setting appointments, doing that. How'd they do?
That is a great question. So it's kind of like with any of these SDR positions at first, they, they kind of hit the rough patches, they're learning the script. But as they really ease into it, and for these interns, it took like really 2 weeks for them to be like making these stellar calls. Not really, it wasn't really a big deal for them to make the phone calls. They have the script. And so if they're just, and that was our number one thing, is stick to the script. And if they have the script, they're just kind of running through it. Also, the people on the other end have no idea that they're college students either. And so they don't really treat them that way either.
Okay,
They can
perfect.
kind of hide behind the phone.
Yeah, no doubt. So got Tim asking, and I assume he's got IFS in here, which I'm assuming is Infusionsoft. So Tim, if that's not what you mean, he's saying, do you have a guide to setting up Infusionsoft users for the intern, their permissions and the best way to set up the users? Should we use the same users and or add and remove users?
So I would definitely add them as their own user. The reason being is because you're going to want to keep track of the interns calls versus any other calls that happen. So you'll want to make sure that you have their name connected to their phone calls. So I would definitely recommend that you add users. We added them each one as a user. We had to even, I think, like add more users to our account. But whenever we would have an intern that had to leave or graduated or anything like that, we would just put in the new intern's email in that spot. So yeah, I would definitely recommend you have new ones. That is something that I can go through in these trainings as well, is how to get their contact set up.
Okay, so you've got that down. Let's see. I just had this. So Tim was asking, I think he probably missed this part on there. Did you pay the interns?
Yes, $10 an hour. And then we would pay them a commission bonus of $25 per SAT appointment. That makes sure that the appointment you're paying for is qualified. And then we would pay them $100 if the SAT appointment ended up becoming a client. So they actually followed their opportunities all the way from the phone call to the end. And for a lot of you, I bet that there's some sales opportunities that have fallen through the cracks just because I've been there. I know how it works. I see all of the I talk to marketing managers at MSPs all the time. And a lot of these booked appointments may not get followed up on, but this intern would follow their booked appointment. And since they're getting commission on the, the client, they're like, hey, have you had this appointment? How did this appointment go? Following up on this. So it kind of even kept us in line too sometimes.
Okay, and we're getting down to the last couple questions. So before we go into that, again, the discount, when's the discount good through MC?
Midnight tonight.
Tonight.
Yep.
Okay. Midnight tonight. I got it. I thought you said tonight. I'm like, okay.
No, midnight tonight.
Okay, I'm like, that's what the kids are calling it these days. It's tonight. So that's for the $100 discount when you get the two programs. That's good through tonight. And then there was a follow-up from Mark. I used the term Infusionsoft before, also known as Keep. And if you're a TMT member, it's MAP on there, the marketing automation platform with that. So great clarification, Mark. Thank you on that. And then there was another question that came up, says, do we need Infusionsoft to run this program?
No, so this would just be one session that you just wouldn't have to attend or wouldn't really need necessarily. I don't know other CRM. So I wouldn't be the best person to be able to train your intern if you have a different one. So you will have to step in and train them on your CRM, but everything else in this is going to help you with that. So they'd still get all of the trainings that they need. It's just with that one training on the technical side, you'd need to step in and do that.
Okay, perfect. And we had one person in here who said his transaction wasn't processing. So Dale, and I'm putting
Get
this
you
in
signed
Q&A just in case. I'm sending you directly to the order form. It's not like the pretty
up.
page.
Okay.
So that try that link, Dale, if you got that, and see if that works for you. And Dale, sometimes I don't know if you're one of the people in the U.S. or outside. Sometimes outside the U.S. Transactions mess up, so we'll definitely have you down and make sure you're taken care of, Dale. So getting that. Let's see, guys, if you had any last minute questions, please put them in here. I'm trying to check with so Carla had asked how many calls you make a day, but I think that was before we answered that. If not, Carla, let us know. The Accelerators Club, the guides, no interns. Okay, I think let's see, I think we're just about, okay, Dale in the US. Okay, so try that link oh, okay, Andrew said sending 400 mailers a week. Did you spread them out and send 80 a day, or did you do that all at once?
All at once. It was a big old batch that went out on a Friday, and we would just drop them off and they'd have calls ready to go on a Monday. So we would do 400 every week. Part of the week is obviously prepping those mailers. That's included in their job. Part of the week is building up our list to make sure that we can routinely send out mailers. And then on the Friday, we would have all of the mailers done and ready to go. We'd send them out and start it all over again the next week and
So
make
yeah,
some money while doing it.
and make money. And don't get hung up on the 400. Obviously, when MC was first hired, it was not 400, as she stated, it was 50, and 400 was the goal, and it was her job to get them to that 400. So it required you plus 4 other interns to get to that 400, correct?
Absolutely. So if you are not at that place, don't feel pressured to be at that place at all. If you can only send 25 mailers with an intern, do it. This is just your opportunity to be able to actually get your marketing done that you've been wanting to and trying to for so long, but you just don't have the time to do it. So this works for anyone at any level. You don't have to send out 400 mailers. You could send out 25, you could send out 50, but the idea here is to have an intern to be able to do all of that, all of the load that it takes to send out the direct mailers, so that you can send them out and that you can start having opportunities and that you can start marketing to these opportunities, and really kind of moving forward. So definitely no, that's a lot. And it really did take all the interns that we had to get that done.
Perfect. Let's see. John's asking, do you have a complete solution for MSPs that don't want to go through this process and outsource it all to you? John, we do currently, we do not have that. We do not have that service available. So appreciate you
Nice.
asking. So let's see. Gino's saying how to set up the call center. New numbers are tagged as spam lately.
What was that one again? Can you repeat?
Gina's saying new numbers are tagged as spam lately, like when people are calling. And I can answer this, Gino. So
Oh,
yeah, we meet with our SDRs every week, and actually their numbers have not changed. Like their percentage of getting through to gatekeepers, getting through to the actual contact, and then scheduling the appointment have not changed. That is something we battle as well. It's more about consistency, making the calls, having the scripts, and doing all of that kind of work. We try everything to get around that whole spam type of thing too. MC, anything you wanted to add to that?
no, I think you covered it.
Okay. Like you kind of answered this, Neil threw in here, and I'm sorry, Neil, this was from a little while ago. I missed it. But is it feasible to implement this with interns working 100% remotely?
Yes, I would say just do it. It's going to require a little more management on your side as it would for any remote employee. So that's just the only catch with having a remote employee is it doesn't make it easy on you as a manager. But if you can, if you can stay diligent with blocking time and making sure you have one-on-ones with them, making sure what they're how they're doing, then you can follow through with that. It's just making sure that they get up and running. So the big thing with having remote interns is the printing the mailers, the making sure that they have all the materials to send out if you wanted them to prep your mailers. So I don't know how remote we're talking. If we're talking in another state, I don't know if that would include you needing to get them a printer or paper, or to kind of have them manage that on their own. So those are just some of those hurdles that you would have if you had a remote intern, especially with the prepping mailers part. Everything else would be good to go. So if you had an intern in-house that prepped your mailers, and maybe an intern that was remote to do all of the other work, like the list building, list cleaning, and all of that, you could do that. But that's just something that I've had to talk to some MSPs who are looking to hire remote, and they're asking how are they going to do their mailers. So that's kind of something that you'll have to figure out there.
Okay, and I think well, I guess there's two more questions. First, Maddie has, did you have the interns quick clean your list before sending out the direct mailers to them, or did you like kind of send the direct mailers first, or how'd that work?
For quick cleaning?
Yeah, like did you have
So
them do a clean
yeah,
before they'd send the mailers,
yes.
or? Okay.
Yep. So they would go through, we'd have all of the contacts in the database. I actually had the marketing coordinator at the time go through and look through the list and make sure that everyone was correct that we were sending to. But you could for sure have an intern do that as well. Just making sure that you have all of the fields filled that you need to have filled.
Okay, and Dale, yeah, your order went through. So congrats to Dale, Brad, Marco, Jeff, Tim, Mark. You're all in. Let's see, the last one I have is a couple of people asked about what kind of percent mailers would be returned to sender.
So that's kind of up to your database and how clean your database is. We'd have a couple in the week, and then we had an intern that would clean the contacts with the bounced mailers. But that's really in your database. So if you don't have a clean database, then that could be something that you could use these interns for, is when they jump on first, like they go in and clean all your contacts. If you have a lot of bounced mailers that come back, that's definitely something that you'll need to do first, and that they can do first. And then you kind of introduce mailers in phase 2 and start sending out mailers as you get it cleaned. Now, I would recommend not to clean your entire database before you send out mailers. Go ahead and clean the amount that you need and send the direct mail then, so that you can get the ball rolling. So we didn't clean our entire database before we started sending out 400 mailers. We just have enough clean for the mailers that we needed to send out. And I would really recommend doing that as well, because you're getting the appointment set, you're getting the leads, you're getting the opportunities as soon as you can.
Okay, perfect. So MC, I know we got to wrap this up in the next 3 minutes. We had a lot more questions than I thought, but thank you very much. I will answer one last one. And for those of you watching live, we hope to see you at boot camp next week. Hopefully in person here in Nashville. It's going to be amazing. It's our biggest boot camp ever here. So over 1,300 MSPs registered, 200 additional people are coming as well. So it's going to be gigantic here. We're super excited. So come by, say hello. MC's got great sessions at boot camp. So you'll run into her there. So do that. And then Caleb, just because I said we'd answer all the questions and you're the last one, you said, how did you increase the percentage of people receiving your mailers? We have pretty low amount of prospects saying they actually received the letter we sent. So Caleb, the big thing is, I will tell you, even our letters that we send out in red envelopes and are oversized, it's about 10% of people actually say they got the letter, which we know isn't correct. We're sending these like first class, so they got the letter. It just means they didn't see it. So that's why you roll right through the script and use the script that MC talked about. Who was the guy? Who was the intern who came up with
Wesley.
it? Wesley, where he has the digital copy of it. Says we'll just send out digital copy and just rolls right on with the script. So Ron saying, if I knew MC was there, I would have attended. Well, Ron, next year, she'll be there next year. Also, we are sold out for in person, but you can join virtually. So Yeah.
Darn, next year.
Next year,
But
Ron. Like we weren't kidding when we said we're sold out. So,
yeah,
yep. So
we'll
thank you
be
guys.
virtual as well. And you guys, for anyone who purchased today, we will have a kickoff call in 2 weeks. So I'll be able to see all your faces and meet all of you guys. So super excited about that as well.
There you go. So that the last minute bonus there. So thank you guys very much for being on with us. Thank you for being members or just being on our list, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye, everybody. Bye, MC.
Guys,